Whoopsie there. There we go. All right. Shall we get into the numbers? There's lots of things to discuss today as far as the numbers for this stash go. Hi, I am Carrie, and this is Smashin the Stash, my series where we discuss all those pesky stash numbers. You know, and we pretend that we're going to get it all used up. One can hope anyway, right? Might take 3 lifetimes to knit or crochet through it all, but perhaps one day we will make it. All right. Currently, I am working on a project with some yarn that came into my stash in April. This is the Sunday sweater by Petite Knit that I am knitting for my sister. It is, well, should I say, last fall/winter, she decided that I could just whip her out a sweater using yarn that I already have. She wanted a sweater in blues or turquoise color yarn for her sweater. And I was like, first off, I don't just willy-nilly whip out a sweater. I need to know what kind of a pattern it is we're talking about. And do I have yarn for this pattern? And do I have yarn in the color that you want? You know, somebody, well, Archer in the Mystery Knit-Along channel, when I decided to knit the Pinkuono, and I, pulled all this pink yarn out of my stash, he was like, you just have like all this pink yarn sitting around? Well, pink is a color that I collect a lot of. I do like the pink. So I have, all these pink yarns from people, dyers, that I like. I mean, I don't have anything against blue yarn, but that doesn't mean that I have enough of yarns in this color family that my sister wants to make her a sweater. The non-knitters just don't understand this concept. I can have 90,000 grams of yarn, but that doesn't mean I have yarn to knit a sweater that you want. So I talked about this yarn when it came into my stash this month. Today is April 30th. And when I got this yarn, I had been watching Emily, Salt City Knits, who is the dyer of Yarnberry. And she was dyeing yarns for one of her collections, her monthly yarn for this collection that she's doing. And it wasn't supposed to be this color of blue. I think she said that she had put twice as much dye in the pot that other than, what she was supposed to put in there. And so she offered up these 5 skeins as a sweater's quantity. And I know I didn't see her podcast right away. It had been a while, a few hours to maybe a day after she had put up this podcast that I had seen it. I was like, well, let me go see if this yarn is still there. It was. I said, well, that must mean that I need this yarn to make sister's sweater. So I ordered it. And it came. And when I finished the Pinkuono, and I had to think about what sweater pattern I was going to make, so I settled on the Sunday sweater by Petite Knit. So I had to, that sweater pattern is knit using a fingering weight yarn plus a lace weight. So then I'm thinking, okay, do I try and find a blue that matches this, or maybe, a softer green color to make it more of a greeny blue turquoise? And then I was like, no, you have some undyed lace weight alpaca fluff, just use it. So I had started using a skein of that I already had caked up. And when it ran out, I went to the yarn cabinet and discovered that I only have a couple more skeins of the alpaca fluff. And I'm using it in this sweater and a couple of blankets. So then I went on to Wool to Die For's website and ordered another package of 10 skeins of it. So those will be joining us sometime shortly. So let me see where we are here. Of course, I'm just knitting in the round, so there's never a good stopping point. But here is where we're at on the sweater. Split for sleeves, and then I have this much done under the arm. I think for her size it says to knit down like 19 and a half inches, including the neckline for her size. But I think I'm going to knit it a couple inches longer because she's tall. So I will do that. Shouldn't be too long. Then I think I'm going to try 2 at a time sleeves for the first time, just to try to get those all done in a hurry. Not that I ever have second sleeve syndrome. Usually if I put my mind, if I'm like, nope, I'm going to finish it, I will get after it and finish it. It doesn't usually linger around too much. And here is one of these yarns in the skein. It is on her biography sock, which is the 85 extra fine superwash merino at 15% nylon. It's so soft. So I'm working on that. So my first, well, I guess we could go with the first finished object. Do I have all of my finished projects? Let me look and see. No. I didn't. All I brought were 2 of them. We're going to have to hold, please. Okay. So the first thing I finished in April was my Mohair Mobile Shawl, Stephen West Mystery Knit-Along. I used an undyed fingering weight that I had in my stash from Wool to Die For. So that's the main color. And then I had 11 mohair scraps in my stash that I used. The pattern called for 5 mohairs, and I had 11, like I said. So I just used them all. Like this one here is an alpaca fluff from Lolo Did It. I have another, and this one here is a little thicker, like the alpaca fluff. But I'm not sure where I got it from, because I thought that this one was like this. That's a knitting for olive color. And this is a knitting for olive color. So I don't know where it came from. So this was our second mystery knit along on the Mystery Knit Along channel, who had an excellent interview with Stephen West on the channel. And then, you know, someone who hates happiness attacks Stephen West for being on the Mystery Knit Along channel. Why do you have to create hate? Oh, anyways, let's not go off. But super happy with it. The only thing I'm not happy with this shawl, and when you're wearing it, you can't tell, is that my beginning I cord was knit too tight. So from now on, with some Stephen West shawls, if we have an I cord that we start with and it's, 300 stitches long, I will make sure that I go up probably 2 needle sizes. Because this here I cord, so there's the one that goes straight is your beginning one, and then you made these triangles off of it. So the triangles were all knit on one side of the I cord, and then you took them and you flipped every other one, and then you knit this I cord that comes down around the top of all the triangles. So my beginning I cord is a little tight, and so this part here hangs like that. But when you're wearing it, you can't tell. Yeah. And then these cables were, we didn't know where we were going when we had all these ripples in there. We didn't know that they were going to end up becoming the end of these cables. How much stash yarn did that use? 254 grams of stash. I just love the colors. They're just so pretty. Let me show you the right side though. Happiness. And it's so light. Mohair definitely isn't the alpaca fluff, but it's not bad. It'll do. So the next thing I finished was my Saturday Shrug. And we all know I am not going to remember the designer, so the name down there. The yarn is by Sweet Skein of Mine. The brown is S'mores, and the pink is Tickled Pink. And this used 355 grams. Yeah. So. I like it. Happy with it. This was one of my 12 cast-ons of the new year. I had had this yarn for a while. I think for like 2 years I've had this yarn. Yeah. 355 grams of yarn out of my stash. So that's, oh, mohair still. That's the only thing about the mohairs. They stay everywhere. Okay. And then my big finish here. You know what? We'll talk about that in a minute. I totally forgot to write something down that we finished. Or that I finished. This is my Pinkuono. I cast this on April 6th after saying we are never, ever, ever going to knit this hideous thing. I cast it on April 6th, finished it April 23rd. "17 days, 1,198 grams of yarn, all stash yarn. I do have a couple of the regular episodes that talk all about the Pinkuono. Super happy with it. Can't wait for next year when it will be cool enough to wear it. Who knew? Who knew that all I had to do was see this in a color that spoke to me, and I would be casting this foolish thing on and finishing it in 17 days. I did say how many yards, right? 9,200 something, like almost 300 yards. This next thing, I'm going to have to put totals at the bottom because I didn't even write it down as a finish for April. And that is Little Miss Norma Jean. So this was the mystery Knitalong. The Berry Cozy Gnome Knitalong by Imagine Landscapes, Sarah Shira. Even has a little tail on her. This was knit using a yarn set that I think I got from the Twice Sheared Sheep, one of their boxes. Yeah, so it was 4 20-gram minis and I was running out of the black color. So I striped in and did the ribbing in the red. Yeah. Only thing is this nose, not my favorite gnome nose to date. But that's okay. She'll just be hanging out with her gnomies. Pun intended there. So now I will have to have revised numbers. Maybe we should talk about the things that came into stash. So I had 500 grams of the Beary yarn come in for my sister's sweater. The Lolo Did It Christmaween yarn, which was 120 grams. This is the Springoween. It has purple. I don't know what we're going to do with this. I really do need to quit these subscriptions, especially people who have such a love for purple. For someone who absolutely hates the color purple, there's a lot of purple in my yarn stash. So that was 120 grams in. The Freckled Whimsy self-striping sock. This was Holly Jolly. And I get the Serendipity sock fingering weight. So that's 125 grams that came in. Next, I have the 50-gram coordinating yarn that came with my Yarnable colorway. I have no idea where the 100-gram skein is. None. Did my child come shopping at my house while I was sleeping? I don't know. But I have looked everywhere for this yarn that came in. I don't know where it is. I know I didn't use it. So there's 150 grams. Where the 100-gram is, I don't know. I have looked in all of the places and all of the things. I like this, though. I know it's here somewhere. I just don't know where. Unless, of course, that child came shopping at my house. The other daughter came shopping at my house and took 2 bags of stuff. Not yarn. She took the cross-stitch things that the other daughter didn't take. And then she took some fabric stuff. And they were both here when the one came to shop. And they both made the comments that, you know, if you want something and it's at your mom's house, that's like shopping for free. I tell you. But if they're going to use it and do something with it, I suppose. So, we started out April with 92,475 grams. The Mohair Mobile was 254 grams out. The Shrug was 355 grams. The Pinkuono was 1,198 grams. 500 grams in for the sweater, 150 for Yarnable, 125 for Freckled Whimsy, 120 for Lolo Did It. And then I'm going to have to figure out the gnome and put the total right there. Because obviously I completely forgot to write that one down as a finished object. Like I said, I do have the alpaca fluff coming in from Wool to Die For. I did stop the Yarnable subscription, so that April colorway that I cannot find is my last one from Yarnable for a while. I'm thinking about just stopping all of them. I do like Lolo Did It yarn. I'm just so tired of purple. So tired of purple. And I have tons of Freckled Whimsy that I haven't knit. And I told myself I was going to knit socks on the CSM and use up my Freckled Whimsy there. Well, I've been so busy with this Mystery Knit-along channel. I need to stop participating in the knit-alongs. But then again, you do the mystery knit-alongs with them and finish your stuff, and everything that I've knit in their knit-alongs has been stash. You know, I haven't bought any yarn. What yarn have I bought this year? I bought yarn to do that baby blanket that my friend is asking me to make for her. So I bought that yarn. Sorry, gotta situate here. I bought that yarn that, you know, doesn't really count as stash yarn because it's not yarn that I would have bought if it wasn't for making this blanket for her. I bought some more of the Lion brand was it Cotton Jeans? Is that the line of yarn that I'm using for my Autumn League sweater? That's one of my 12 cast-ons of the new year. So that, I just bought yarn to finish that project because I wasn't going to have enough. Bought yarn for my sister's sweater. And then, you know, this alpaca fluff that I'm using for a couple of different projects. One being her sweater here. And I have a couple blankets that I'm making holding that yarn. But really, that's the only yarn I've bought. So, you know, these mystery knit-alongs, I'm using all stash yarn. Everything that I've knit there. So we'll see. They have a sock one coming up. I think the clue comes out at midnight my time. I don't know. Am I going along with that one? Probably. I will probably knit the sock. And I will probably use yarns left over from my Pinkuono. I tell you. How do How do I keep doing all this? Tucked into all these knit-alongs. I guess. You got the yarn, you're going to have to knit. And if we're knitting something, we might as well be knitting with a group. They can keep us all motivated. All right, well, I think that's everything I have to talk about. Yep. I think that's it. So, all in all, I mean, even with buying the 500 grams of yarn for this sweater, April still was a pretty good month for my stash numbers. Have all those things coming out. We did do some things in April. Things were done. Projects finished. Yarns used. All right. Until next month. Have a great day.